So this is what it is. In 1999, Buffy Summers had graduated from Sunnydale High after defeating a plethora of monsters like her vampire ex-boyfriend, an evil mayor, a Nosferatu-like vampire with a flair for the drama, and a large blue-skinned demon she blew up with a bazooka. Later that year, she kicked off her freshman year at the University of Sunnydale by facing off against a mean girl vamp, werewolves, a demonic roommate, Pedro Pascal, and some of, if not the, scariest monsters on the show, the Gentlemen. The Gentlemen came to Sunnydale to literally steal hearts and voices. These well-dressed ghouls came to town at the same time Willow first met the love of her life, Tara Maclay. Giles gave a stellar overhead projection presentation where he flexed his artistic skills with a stick figure drawing of Buffy, which many fans, myself included, would go on to get tattooed on them. Anya would ask Giles if Olivia was an orgasm friend, and Buffy found out her most recent crush, Riley Finn, was actually a secret government commando. All this and more occurred in the mostly silent episode Hush, which aired December 14th, 1999. This episode would go on to garner the show its only Emmy nomination for Outstanding Writing and land itself on many Best Episodes of TV lists for years to come. 25 years later, we're still here talking about it. Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and we're here today for an oral history of the iconic Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 4 episode, Hush. Hush was written and directed by Joss Whedon, with story editing by Doug Petrie. It was co-produced by David Fury, Gareth Davies, David Greenwalt, and Jane Espenson.
David Greenwalt, hello. Hush, among the greatest Buffy episodes, was such an amazing idea, and it was like a classic.
I'm Jane Espenson. I've always loved what I guess I'd call a novelty episode, an episode with a constraint like that, where you're going to do something really different. And this was just clearly, it was one of those, like when you heard about, we're going to do a musical episode. It was that same sense of like, okay, this is going to be a classic. This is going to be amazing.
Doug Petrie, writer, director, producer, one of the team on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I remember really well being out at dinner with Joss and Marty Knox, and he said, yeah, I'm thinking of doing this episode with no dialogue. And it was very exciting.
It's James Marsters. Good to be with you guys. There were different episodes when I was kind of going like, okay, they're just showing off now, you know. But at the same time, I think that both Buffy and Angel were very brave. They did things with the characters that other shows just wouldn't have the courage to do.
I'm Amber Benson, otherwise known as Tara Maclay. What was great about Buffy is it could go super camp, but when you needed it to, it could be really dark and messed up.
Nobody was hesitant. Everybody was like, this is going to be awesome.
It was kind of like, oh, goody. Like, that's interesting.
I think the audition that I did had like the first scene that you know Willow and Tara have together where there's actually talking. So yeah, I didn't quite realize what I was getting myself into. I thought it was kind of going to be normal, and then it was not normal at all.
From the beginning, it's just like, what the heck is going to happen this week?
Jeff Pruitt, stunt coordinator, fight choreographer for Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Sophia Crawford. I was Buffy's stunt double season 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have to say that I do love the episode Hush. You know, when I got the script, and when we get the scripts, we always read the scripts from back to front. It wasn't like we just highlighted our stunt parts and only concentrated on that. We loved the scripts that we received. And I thought this was a very original concept.
We got into it, and I was like, okay, we're going to have to work for this one. This is interesting. Yeah.
But it was, I mean, what an incredible thing to step into. What an out of the box bananas episode.
It was just totally unique but totally in the vein of our show.
It was definitely one I remember more for the writing and the show rather than the action.
The gentlemen themselves were unlike any other Buffy villain, and still stand out as the creepiest villains with the coolest designs. They're like the Cenobites from Hellraiser if they were silent, polite, and well-dressed. Their slim-fitting suits only added to their creepiness. Their performers had backgrounds in dance and mime work, amongst other things.
My name is Don Lewis, and I was gentleman number 3. I did a fair amount in the 80s and 90s. If you saw mimes or bodysuit people, there's an excellent chance you saw me.
Hello, I am Charlie Brumbly. I played one of the gentlemen. They wanted people that could kind of, have some sort of interesting movement about them for these characters, since they were this like strange sort of being, whatever. And at the time I was getting work on TV shows as a dancer. And so that's kind of how I ended up getting the audition.
I can't even really remember the audition because there's so many, and they're all so different and all the same.
I don't know if you know Doug Jones. He's like the sweetest guy too. He's a really nice guy.
Hi, I'm Doug Jones. You might know me from some crazy, wacky movie credits like Shape of Water, Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy 1 and 2, Hocus Pocus, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. But today, I'm most proud to tell you that I was the leader of the gentlemen in the Hush episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. My agent called and said, I have a weird one for you. I go, okay, hit me. She tried to explain it. And how do you explain these gentlemen who smile all the time and float around and tear people's hearts out while doing it with a gentle face, But that's what she told me. I'm like, oh, it's, I've done weirder things. Okay, good.
And I went in, and it was very short and to the point, and like, okay, thank you. And I'm pretty sure I got the call a couple hours later, if I recall. It's so long ago.
I got into the waiting area, and I'm looking around at an array of interesting looking fellas. And maybe they were thinking the same about me, probably. I don't know. And one of them was practicing his smile. He was kind of doing this, looking at the floor and and I was like, whoever that is, I'm out of here. Well, that was Camden Toy. Both of us ended up being cast as the two. We were partners that floated around together, and there were two sets of other gentlemen partners.
Yeah, I'm Camden Toy. I played one of the gentlemen in Hush. My agent called me and said, Buffy the Vampire Slayer wants to see you tonight at 6 o'clock or 6:30 or whatever it was. And I was like, tonight? Because usually you have a day or two, to look at the sides, to like kind of prepare. And I was like, what? What about the script? And she was like, there's no script, just go.
The audition was simply Joss telling me, okay, so I want you to be as polite and gentlemanly as you possibly can while keeping a huge smile on your face. And I want you to just kind of mime cutting someone's heart out and plopping it into a jar. And I'm like, oh, as you do.
The character was called the Laughing Men originally. And Lonnie Hammerman, the casting director, was like, okay, we're probably going to change that name because the episode has no dialogue. There's no dialogue. So we're probably going to change that. So there's no laughing. Don't laugh. So we'd like you to do an improv. So we'd like you to float in. And I'm like, float? Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll float in, So we would like you to float in, take out a scalpel, and cut this young man's heart out, and then float back out again. And meanwhile, smiling.
Just movement is mine. And in that sense, that's what the gentlemen were, is they were mimes. I hate to embarrass anybody, but your monsters are all mine.
In fact, Camden Toy and I were conferring about each other's mime backgrounds and then our clowning and, physical tomfoolery, let's call it.
Because of my physical background in clowning and mime and physical theater and martial arts, I approximated floating by, if you move just your legs from the knee down, which is quite a trick. But if you move them just from the knee down and not from the knee up, you can actually approximate floating.
Huh.
Which is
That's
what I did.
interesting.
I sort of approximated that kind of floating kind of thing, So I float in, I take the scalpel out, I cut out the young man's heart, I take it, I float back out again. And Joss literally goes, okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, great. Oh, I'm gonna have nightmares now. Thank you. And I thought, well, I either have the job or he thinks I'm a total psycho.
Just incredibly well cast. And they knew how to do what is essentially mask work. They knew how to let the makeup do a lot of the work and then support that with expression and body movement. They're just very, very tight.
Like the gentlemen are so creepy and unsettling, and it was all like makeup, like on set, in camera stuff. Like none of it was digital. I mean, it's beautiful. The makeup is beautiful and incredible performers. I mean, those guys were incredible.
The obvious memory is there was a massive amount of makeup. We would come in early in the morning and we would just be in the chair for hours. And you would have the prosthetics that were glued on. You had hands that were glued on.
I swore after this I would never do prosthetics again. No, it's miserable, man.
I mean, kudos to Todd McIntosh and all their special effects guys who day after day were doing vamp after vamp and demon after demon. Those guys worked so hard. They were the first ones there. Sometimes they had to get people in the chair at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's how long it took for some of those people. And the same for our stuntmen that would go into some of those costumes too.
The makeup crew, I wish I could remember their name. I wish I could grab that video immediately because they were wonderful. They were just wonderful. Mwah.
I remember exactly how long it was. It was 6.5 hours to have it put on and about an hour and a half to have it taken off.
One of my friends took a tape of when they were putting the makeup on me. And when I watched it, the face going over, the teeth being put in, it was the end result was so wonderful.
Yeah, holy shit. Like that's really scary.
Just the physicality of them, impossibly tall and thin, and it was very creepy.
Hi, I'm Wayne Sable, and I played the freshman boy in Buffy, the Vampire Slayer Hush. I mean, people still see that, like, it's on my reel, obviously. It's a cool little thing to have on my reel. And people are terrified of it.
The silence, the smiling while you're doing dastardly things, and floating, like your feet never moving as you're going about town. Ah!
I actually really liked the scene where they had her feet floating.
The first shot of the gentleman, where you see the camera is aimed at the floor outside the door, and the door opens and a pair of shoes comes floating out, followed by a second and a third. That's great stuff, and very simple shot in terms of its composition, but super, super effective. You're like, who the fuck are these guys?
And I couldn't get it because to me it wasn't very creepy. It was like, I guess because obviously maybe seeing how a sausage is made, but anybody who sees that they think it's creepy.
I've talked about this a lot because it was incredible. They were so unsettling in real life. The makeup, like Todd McIntosh just knocked it out of the park. They are like perfection.
Holy shit. Like, we're showing this to kids? Like, oh my God. And it wasn't that they were covered in blood or viscera. It wasn't that the makeup was over the top horrifying or anything like that. It was just that they had some really good actors underneath that makeup. And they just, oh my God, I'm getting like a chill and nausea just thinking about those characters.
Now, I rarely I rarely creep myself out when I watch things back, because once you've been through the process, it's like, oh, I mean, it wears off the creep factor. Watching that episode gave me the heebie-jeebies every time we were on camera. It's like, oh gosh, I am disgusting. That and this guy from Pan's Labyrinth are the two times that I've actually felt really grossed out by my own self.
Their suits really made it. Their well-polished shoes and their kind of funeral director suits, and those creepy grins, and the weird acolytes in their floppy straitjackets, menacing around.
Yeah, just, oh my God, horrifying.
We were very focused on they should move in an eerie way and be that physical, exaggerated Slender Man before Slender Man look. And yeah, it was inherently designed to tickle the parts of your brain that get horrified. Yeah.
I think it was it Allie? I think it was Allie who was like, I think I have to go to my trailer. I don't think I can eat watching The Gentlemen. These poor guys, like they're in makeup all day and they're like eating through basically drinking their food through a straw.
The teeth, right, was like, kind of like those wax teeth, right? So you had to just hold that in your mouth. But then what do you call it? The actual prosthetic was over top of that. So you're just walking around like this, like you're at the dentist, just drooling on yourself. And it like all the drool just like kind of collects inside the prosthetic. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, they had an application like a denture type of thing, but I would have, I'd love to have taken that, had it fall in my bag.
He loved Camden's smile and mine so much, and that we gave him the heebie-jeebies, that he wanted them to reconfigure our prosthetic mask before to be glued on around our real mouths so that we can get our real smile in there. And instead of the teeth that were plastered on the outside, that changed into metallic-looking dentures. But just for the two of us. Now the other four that you see do have that big plastered on outside the mouth look still on them.
All of our smiles were kind of different, and like also like it was still on your face. So like Doug Jones, right? He's like his face is like long and lean, and he's like 6'2" or 3" or whatever he is, and and I'm like 3-4 inches shorter than him, and then there was another guy that was a couple inches shorter than me. So if anyone were to care, they could figure out which one's which.
Camden did the box. I threatened somebody with a knife. A lot of times you see just body parts. You see a face cut, see me going by a window. It is so cut together. So in that sense, there's pieces of me everywhere. Doug, I remember he definitely cut out the first heart because it was first time we saw it done.
The one shot I really remember of me with like death involved, I opened the door and I'm like holding the heart in my hand.
I wanted so bad to be wired up and float above the street. And the stunt guys got to do this, stunt hush got to do that. We were very jealous.
The Gentlemen's minions, yeah. So they were all our stunt guys mostly.
But with The Gentlemen, he said, watch Dark City. Those are the guys I want to do. I want you to float guys around and they're going to be super creepy and we're not going to talk. And I said, it's impossible. You can't do it. But they did it.
When you saw a full wide shot of our entire bodies floating, we couldn't, our feet could not touch the ground. Right. So to accomplish that, they put us in hip harnesses with wires that went up past our shoulders and onto a T-bar that would string along a cable in the sky or on the ceiling of wherever it was. The biggest setup for that probably was at the town square where the clock tower was. The big wide shot of 6 of us floating down the streets. They had all these cables. It was quite a setup. And then we went peeling off in different directions. So they had, it was a lot. It was a lot.
The production of getting the gentleman to float, and which is a really perfect effect because it was a physical effect, and making that work was a new challenge, but there was so much enthusiasm about it that problem solving was exciting and fun.
There was this sense that if they hadn't have gotten that shot, that the whole episode wasn't going to work. That they had to introduce the gentleman as these otherworldly, spooky, weird, powerful beings, and that shot was how that was going to get established. And without that, it wasn't going to work.
What happened was the effects guys had a sled that they would push them around on for close shots, and then in the hallway they had a setup rigged in the ceiling. But outside, Joss said to me, "I want you to float the guys 100 yards," which was on the Universal Studios backlot. But we had to rig between, I had one crane behind a church and the other one far down on the back where the Munsters house was. And we had to eyeball them and keep them about 6 inches off the ground the whole time. Yeah, because the cable, as tight as we could get it, it would dip a little bit. And we had to, so it was tough, but that's what he wanted. So that's what we did and loaded him across there.
And I remember getting to this set, and there was just this euphoria. Everyone on the set, we did it, and we did it well, and it looks great. And they had been working for hours and hours and hours.
The other challenge was then when you saw us like this shot right now from the nipples up, that we were on a platform with wheels under it, and some poor guy on the floor was going like and wheeling us in. So that was a balancing act, like because the start and the stop of that motion, we had to be. It's like surfing, like I'm ready for the wave, and
Then you see like not just what's on the screen, like because they have Video Village, you would see what the camera sees, but you look around and you see the gentlemen doing their spooky thing, but they're all standing on a platform on wheels, and a bunch of grips are pulling them along. So it sort of kills the magic of the moment a little bit. It's pretty funny.
We not only got the creepiest Buffy monsters in this episode, but we were also introduced to beloved witch Tara Maclay, who got the big chase scene of the episode and lived to tell the tale. Something not many newly introduced Buffy characters got to do.
I think she was like supposed to be this woodland sprite and be like this tiny sylph-like creature person. I think she was meant to kind of be more like Allison's body type. If that was like the image they were looking, that is not me. I am not that person at all. I remember going in, I was wearing like these like pants that were too big, belted really tight so they wouldn't fall off, and like Marty Noxon was very instrumental in me getting the part, which was very nice and lovely.
There's a thing that she did that was like this kind of nervous vulnerability that she had.
It was a perfect fit. It reminds me of when we cast Drusilla.
I just remember watching her first scenes just going, holy God, who is this person? And realizing that there was a combination happening between a really good actor and a really good backstory, and how real that all felt. And thinking, God, that she's only in for one episode? This is a one episode character, really?
I mean, it was pretty incredible to walk onto a set and have the first thing you see be the gentleman. My first scene was at the college. It was outdoors, and I walk up and they're filming the gentleman. Like it's iconic. It's this moment that you're just like, I can't believe that they're doing this. It's so cool.
I was really impressed watching Amber again and seeing how natural she is and how she just kind of fits in with the show, and the very moving scene where she takes Willow's hand and they can move the soda machine together to protect themselves from the door that's going to open. It's a very exciting scene. It's a very emotional scene.
That was my favorite part. We were silent and we were doing kind of a magic thing, and then there was a special effect, and I found that to be really, really fun. So yeah, I feel like she got a really good introduction to the show.
Tara would go on to be groundbreaking due to her loving relationship with Sunnydale's resident witch, Willow Rosenberg. Their relationship was not only one of the first of its kind on TV, but it also still stands as one of the best queer relationships on TV.
I knew Allison from before, so we, it wasn't like walking in cold. I knew the person I was going to be working with, and that was really nice and exciting. And so, yeah, no chemistry read.
Marty Noxon had a lot to do with that, making it the way it was, that relationship.
My memory of it, and this could be wrong, was that there was sort of a brainstorm of like, oh, wow, Willow is gay. That's not just a joke we made in Doppelgangland or wherever it was. Okay, well now we got to find the girlfriend. Like I feel like it wasn't like, oh, we've got Amber. Oh, here's a cool thing we could do. It was like, no, I think Amber was cast to be her girlfriend.
Remember when we had Bad Willow and The Wish and everything? Remember that? So she was bi, and Josh, when we did that, after we did that episode, Josh told me, he said, next season, I'm going to make Willow gay.
I think the creative intent was to give Willow a girlfriend and to give her a partner that she deserved was the intention there.
The Tara character came in. It was like two real people, like people that I know. These are like real.
That's how I think why I think it resonated so much.
Yeah, it felt real. It felt like two real people, and I thought, wow, that works better than the Riley Buffy thing. We were all worried about Riley and Buffy.
Such a beautiful arc.
When Tara and Willow kissed, I was like, we got our kiss. Oh my God. I was like, oh, when I remember reading the script and coming out of my trailer like, son of a bitch, yeah. Wow.
Right away, everyone was like, oh boy.
That is, I think, culturally the high point of the show.
I didn't even know Willow was gay. Was she gay in the show? I did not know. I had no idea that was the storyline.
At around minute 13, Giles's beau Olivia delivers the line, "That's enough small talk," cleverly the last line, before 25 or so minutes of no dialogue. The gentleman's box opens up and steals all the voices in Sunnydale.
I remember being shocked by how hard it was to film, how much we were looking forward to an easy episode, being that there wasn't as much dialogue to memorize. It very quickly became obvious that this is going to be one of the more challenging shows that we've ever filmed. And to put all of the characterization, all of the beats, all of the storyline, plot points, all of that stuff visually made me really glad that I'd watched a lot of Elvis Costello and Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin.
It was fun. I really enjoyed it. I tend to have a very expressive face, so it works well for things like that. Silent films, maybe I miss my calling.
All I had to do was react. I didn't have dialogue to say. It was just like acting afraid. And I'm literally screaming, but not screaming. You know what I'm saying? Just not letting it come out. So it wasn't difficult at all, actually. So it was pretty easy for me. It was fun.
One of the hardest shots for me is walking into a room and being surprised. Like, dun, 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 like that, That goes cheesy so easy because you're lying, because you know what's coming up. You're not surprised and you're having to act surprised. And so you get into doing Hush and you're getting notes like, look to the right, be surprised by that prop, go over to the actor, tell them visually, this thing happened over here, it's a big deal, you got to pay attention to it, and then do something else. And it's all of this kind of ballet with expressions, and all of it is pre-planned.
Having something come through without saying the words and just like with the eyes and that's something that always came easy to me.
It wasn't so much without noise. It was just not being able to see. Yeah, we had like these quarter-size contacts in that we had to be led around the set. We couldn't walk anywhere by ourselves because these things were completely like, it was like trying to look through a sheet of wax paper, You can kind of see there's something there, but that was kind of weird. Not using your eyes as an actor is kind of a bizarre thing.
No, it wasn't a problem for us. Bodysuits are nothing but that. You don't get to talk. Makeup like that is a bodysuit of sorts.
It's like, man, we are out on the edge right now because we're all acting. There's a lot of acting going on right now.
Both Camden and I being mimes, and we both had a strong belief that dialogue does not all have to be verbal. So if you don't have written lines, you still have a ton of dialogue. All of our visual dialogue. And in fact, when they took the voice, I am the one who stole the voices out of Sunnyvale and put them into a box. That was my doing. And when you took the voices away, everybody kind of leaned in and paid more attention, right? So without anyone having a voice, we all had to have a lot of dialogue that was visual for that episode.
And I think what was great about this episode is that people got to non-verbally express their feelings for each other. Xander and Anya got to, Xander said without saying, "I really care about you." Riley and Buffy said, "We are lovers now." Through the genre action and through the horror and through the being in an action horror movie, they all had to level up and declare how they felt about one another.
I think it's important to know when it's right to do these episodes. Remember Star Trek Next Generation? They did their amok time variant of everyone's out of character super early. And you're like, I don't know who everybody is yet. You got to, in this, this episode had to wait.
Those characters on Buffy were so well defined by that point, and the humor and their comedic timing still worked without verbal dialogue.
Everybody wants to talk. If I'm remembering correctly, I think there were a couple of times when people would talk by accident in the middle of a scene.
I mostly had trouble saying the word fuck. That was my inner monologue 90% of the time. And I would often say it silently. And I would not be aware I was doing it, but I would add that unconsciously, and it would just come out and it would ruin takes all the time.
It's just such a human thing to open your mouth and say something, because you forget. You start, and then you say something. You're like, sorry, I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to talk.
I always made sound. I just did what I want.
The gentlemen up the horror of the episode with their first kill, a student who is held down and has his heart cut out while he's still alive, trying his hardest to scream for help.
I didn't see a script, had sides. They basically were like, listen, you're going to open the door, you're going to see something in front of you, and you're just like terrified. But you almost can't scream. Oh, I have big eyes, so I do it all the time. I've been trying. I'm probably talking right now and be like, wow, that guy's eyes are like bugging out of his head. It's just like how I talk. I've both been told many times, like, take the eyes down a little bit. Take the eyes down a little bit. Like, because on a camera, I'm just like, boom, boom. So I literally, like, when I said action, I slammed myself back against a filing cabinet and just like, did what I could.
Probably the most gorgeous moment ever between Camden and me was when we're looking at our patient and we're smiling at each other, and he pulls open the doctor bag and he takes out the knife, and I'm like, "Oh, for me?" And he's like, "Yes, for you." All this nonverbal. It was just so like they're being so nice about it, right? And this kid is just like terrorized for his poor little life. And the last thing before a commercial break was my close-up of me going into the camera. Oh my gosh.
I was also impressed with, and a lot of this comes down to the acting and really intelligent writing and directing and editing, where what's really scary, you never see the incision being made, but you do see his exposed flesh. You do see him try to scream and be unable to. And really, it's Doug Jones holding that scalpel and the kind of flourish with which he wields the scalpel.
He had the little scalpel near me, and like they never did anything. I never had any kind of makeup on like that showing me get cut, which would have been cool. I would have loved that, but that wasn't the case.
But you do see the heart in a jar. That was another small but important storytelling thing, is that you see that guy get, our victim of the week get it. And then you see a heart in a jar. And then you see the jar placed on a table, and there's 4 of them. So it's like, oh, he's not the first victim. They've progressed in their quest for the 7 hearts. So it felt gory,
They had to find my body dead, and I guess Sarah Michelle Gellar had left. So I was under the impression I was coming back, another payday, another day at work. But they put someone else in my pajama pants, and those are not my feet that they find. Those are not my legs and not my feet. So I never got to meet Sarah Michelle Gellar. She never got to look at me lying dead in the ground, and that was unfortunate for me.
The show progresses with many powerful, iconic moments that contain no dialogue. Giles giving the lecture hall presentation on the gentleman, Tara and Willow moving a vending machine with their combined witch powers, Buffy and Riley almost shooting each other, Xander thinking Spike bit Anya, Anya asking Xander if he'd like to have sex with some specific hand motions, and more.
And the exposition scene where Giles has to give orders with no dialogue, but he has the 90s overhead projector. That's just a perfect scene.
I'm always going to go for the comedy scene. I mean, the gentleman gliding and floating around and the jump scares and all that stuff, and that's all awesome. But give me some good old 7 people in a room doing funny reactions to each other. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I was wondering who did the drawings, because those were great drawings, great crude drawings that got the point across.
I laugh at stuff that I've previously read on the page, but it's harder. It's you once you've read it, you're less likely to laugh when you see it. You laughed when you read it. And so it was rare to watch an episode that I had read multiple drafts of and laugh, like belly laugh. And I still just remember that hurt tummy feeling of like, this is the funniest thing ever.
And of course, any scene with Tony Head driving it is going to be one of the best scenes. I mean, that's just, he was the best.
And Buffy, miming stabbing and being misunderstood we had great actors too, and the reaction shots were so much fun. So
Buffy already had a lot of action and a lot of really good experienced actors who could handle something like this. This isn't going to throw Giles, Anthony.
That's the one thing that I wish I had more of on the show, was more scenes with Tony Head. I just loved those. Every time we got written together, I was like, oh, thank God, this is going to be so good.
Buffy and Riley defeat the gentlemen and their minions by working together, ending with Riley smashing the box containing the town's voices, and Buffy screaming till the gentlemen's heads all explode into green slime.
In Hush, I had a few gags crashing through the clock tower, doing the fight scene with the guys and so forth, but I was probably also at that time focused on the next episode, which was Doomed, I think it was, or something.
Yeah,
Doomed.
We had more coming up the next episode. So while we were working on one show, we were trying to rehearse the fight scenes for the next show and get that all together. So there's multiple things that are going on at one time. And I was happy with the fight scenes. I thought they're okay.
Yeah, there was those minion guys that were in there. The one where Riley shot one of them. Well, in that fight scene, originally, instead of Buffy swinging on a rope and kicking the guy and sending him back by the wire, I had set up another wire gag, which Buffy leaps off something and does a backflip while traveling forward and then lands the kick. And then Josh thought it was too much like Power Rangers. He said, that's
it was. It was a little bit too much.
On Buffy, we came up with a rule after a couple of actors hit each other. We decided there's never going to be a scene where whenever you see one actor punching someone, the other person is a stunt person. The only time we might do one quick shot where they're together and like one stabs the other or grabs the other, but that's when you see their faces together. When they're actually really swinging, it's always the actor swinging at a stunt person or a stunt person swinging at the actor, but never two actors.
Oh, do you know what the head explosion was? They took macaroni and cheese and put green dye in it. That's what came popping out of our heads. And they had fake heads created too that could explode on camera. So it was a quick cut back and forth to edit that together.
Yeah, and I believe there were residue of the horror all over the parking lot for months and months and months.
This episode was well received almost immediately. This dialogue-heavy show was able to pull off a nearly dialogue-less episode. If you ask many a Buffy fan, myself included, they will name this as their favorite episode. Folks who haven't even watched the show often know this episode.
To have the showrunner of this mega hit coming out of his office to write and direct this episode, it's like, oh, I get it. This one's kind of special.
We knew we were turning lead into gold, I mean, it seemed obvious.
I mean, I think we knew pretty immediately that it was going to be something really special.
I think it was like 3 of them in a row and floating with the big mechanical rig and coming down the street and just going, oh, this is something special.
After it aired and I went to the posting board online and I saw the reaction, I thought, ooh, this is working, because Josh had said to me, I want to win an Emmy for this. So he was like really determined for it to be quality, And we did. We put everything into it. Everybody did.
Everybody did. Everybody put 100% into that. And some of the other big ones too, the iconic ones like, Graduation Day and some of these other ones. But Hush definitely seems to be very, very popular with so many people for different reasons.
It just amazed me that he could. I mean, the humor in it, the little things.
It took a little while. I think it got nominated for an Emmy, and I heard that.
I didn't really know until the Emmys the following year.
The first time that I knew was when my sister got all excited.
It was a little bit of an event, and they promoted the show by its title, which I've never heard of before or since. So they knew they had something special.
I'm going home for Christmas, and the trailer for the show would play before it aired, and I was in the trailer. So everybody where I'm from was like freaking out, like, holy shit, Wayne's in Buffy. And like I came home, like, it was amazing at the time,
I was kind of surprised at the end of the day how much attention it did get.
Big reaction. Big good reaction, rightly so.
I remember just sort of general glee. I don't remember seeing anything critical. And there's always something critical, but I felt like Hush was just right away like, oh my God, that worked. Everyone loves it.
I had changed my name when I got into the business, but someone online was like, I know who he is, and his name is not Wayne Sable. His name is this. That's the reaction I got, was someone's like, I know that guy, and that's not his name,
I tend not to read stuff just because it gets in your head, but I know that everybody was very happy with it. It did very well.
Well, I will say Camden Toy and I were both quite full of ourselves when the TV Guide reviewer, just before the episode aired, there was a review of what you can expect in this week's Buffy episode, and the journalist said the gentlemen are the scariest villains this show has ever had, perhaps any show on television. I was like, again, we were quite taken with ourselves.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved working on the episode, enjoyed the fight scenes that I did, and I thought it was an absolutely amazing episode to watch and be a part of.
I never watch them because then it's like you either get attached or you sit there and you say, why didn't I?
Buffy was one where I still watched every episode with it was, an event. It wasn't all downloaded all at once. And it was always beautifully executed. Some shows you're like, I've got the perfect version in my head. But Buffy, yeah, we would. I definitely remember watching Hush, but I feel like I remember watching it with the other writers. I think we screened it not just in someone's house. I think we screened it in the room. I'm just remembering the scene with the whiteboard with Giles with the slides and the music, and we watched that with different music under it. Like, would this music work better than that music?
Yeah, I watched them all. That was one of the great things about being on the show is I got to see the show, the episode like 3 days before it came out. Like, they didn't trust us that much not to spill the beans, so we didn't get a lot of lag time. Sometimes it was just a day, but we did get a little cassette tape, which I still have, by the way. I've got all my cassette tape, and we got to watch it before the world got to see it.
I don't watch myself, but that one, I did watch it because it was just such a unique, like what an incredible, like that is just like a bananas weird, like you never get to do anything like that. So I did watch that one, but we watched it. They would run episodes during lunch, the day it would air, so you would get to see it before, and so that's where I saw it.
I was working at a restaurant when it aired, so like everybody went to the TV. This is before like TiVo and shit. They had a TV that we put it on. And I got to see it.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that people still, like, when they, people I meet outside of the business, they find out I'm an actor, and then they inevitably look me up, and they're like, "Oh, you were on Buffy." It's like one of the first things that they say.
I just watched it again. I was pleasantly stunned by how good the show is, how well constructed the stories were, how meaningful they were, just how well made it was, and the fact that we made 22 a season.
The thing I remember most was probably just how smart the episode was. and how I felt like I was doing something that was, and I feel like this about Buffy in general, but there's something that like it transcends just like a television show. And I think from the beginning, it felt like transcendent. It felt like there was something else going on. There was this other layer underneath it always. It's a very smart show. It had very smart people who created it and who ran it and who wrote for it and who performed, like it was very thoughtful.
Hush works for many reasons, but one of the biggest being it could stand on its own as a movie. The episode works both in and out of context of the show. As with most every episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it's a combined effort of all its parts. The writing, the makeup, the directing, the performances, the writing, the fashion. All of it is top tier. There's a reason it still stands as one of the best episodes of television nearly 25 years later. This oral history was a love letter to my favorite episode of TV. I appreciate everyone who wanted to take part in it, and want to give a special thanks to Slayerfest 98 editor-producer Ashley Hullett for all her hard work on this, and Dominic Burgess, Zachary Patton Garcia, Juliet Landau, and every publicist and agent who took the time to help me set up these interviews, and every friend who fielded my panicked texts and calls about the project. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, give us a like, and leave a comment letting us know what you think about the oral history or the episode in general. I love you all, and I'll see y'all next time.
Oh yeah. Let me do this. I'll show you this.
A couple of things at the shop.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know. Can you see it? Yeah. There's Mr. Pointy, and let's see. Here is Buffy. That's our crew jackets. Sophia's got a bunch of crew jackets there from different shows and things.
Oh, cool.
And we have different walls dedicated to different shows. This is you can see these are a bunch of Buffy characters and Sophia and Spike and all of us and Sarah, everybody.